Okay, so it's time, and I'll just start this session. And hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session on Jakarta EE 9 and beyond. I'm your host, Steve Mann. I co-lead Delhi Java user group. I'm working as a backend developer for a startup named Farmley, and I've been part of the Delhi JUG for about 3 years now. Now, I would like to introduce our first speaker. We have Ivar Grimstad. Ivar is the Jakarta EE developer advocate at Eclipse Foundation, a Java champion, and a JUG leader. He is also involved in Eclipse MicroProfile, Apache NetBeans, and is a frequent speaker at international developer conferences. Next up, we have Tanja Obradović with us today. Tanja is the Jakarta EE program manager at Eclipse Foundation. She has been working with Java and Java EE for quite a while now. Thank you, Tanja and Iva, for joining us today. And before handing over the virtual stage to Iva and Tanya, I would quickly like to mention that this session will be available on YouTube soon after the session ends. We will be sharing the video link as well as relevant resources on our social media. So it would be great if you follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Over to you.
So thank you, and I hope you can see my screen now. So welcome, we're thrilled to be here. And this is actually our first stop on the Jakarta EE 2020 virtual tour. So we want to tour the world virtually. Usually we'd prefer to do it by going there. We like airports, but nowadays we have to stay here. So as the wonderful introduction said, I'm Ivar Grimstad. I'm the Jakarta EE developer advocate. And Tanja?
I'm Tanja Obradović, and I'm Jakarta EE program manager. We both work for Eclipse Foundation, and we are thrilled to have our first stop at Delhi. So hopefully you'll enjoy the presentation, and the next time around we'll come and see you in person.
We'll be looking forward for it.
So the topics today is we'll give some background about Jakarta EE, and we will talk about the upcoming Jakarta EE 9 release, and we will also talk about what's coming after Jakarta EE 9. So
you need to share your screen, Ivar, once again.
Am I doing? I think I'm doing. Resume my
presentation. It was taken over a little bit.
Oh. Yeah. Somebody threw me out. So
yes.
I think I share now. So
yes, it's good.
The topics for today is some background, some Jakarta EE 9, and we're going to talk about what happens after Jakarta EE 9. So somebody else is taking over my screen here.
Well, that's great. Maybe they can present about Jakarta EE as well.
We could just,
that means that there are so many knowledgeable people about Jakarta EE.
We just share the slide deck, and somebody else can do it. So, yeah, exactly. So Jakarta EE, and the history of Jakarta EE is we came, or has been known as Java EE under the Java community process, run there as an open source project, but under the stewardship of Oracle. So even though it's been open specifications, open source, and everybody can contribute, it's still been mainly influenced by one vendor. And in 2017, we started the transfer from the JCP over to Eclipse Foundation. And all these technologies, it's not only the specifications, it's also the technologies that are implementing the specifications. These were moved over to Eclipse Foundation under the EE4J projects. And based on these projects, we produced the specifications that are the foundation of Jakarta EE. So
Ivar, what's about Jakarta EE as name? Like, what's up with that? How did we come up with that?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I prepared a slide for that. So if you remember, back in the days, we had the Apache Jakarta project, and this was a top-level project at Apache Foundation where they had all the Java-based projects. But this was parked for several years, when we started figuring out what are we going to call this stuff that we get from Oracle, EE for J was kind of just the working name on the way, and nobody liked that name anyway. So we wanted to figure out something new, and we came up with, let's ask Jakarta Apache if we can get Jakarta from them, and we did, and we called it Jakarta EE. So that's kind of the history of the name.
Who is we there? Is that Eclipse Foundation or community?
To decide for the name, yeah, we did some. We had an election, so the community actually selected this name. We shortlisted a couple of them because we had a GitHub tracker where we had like hundreds of names, and they were more or less horrible, all of them, or we couldn't use them, or they were offensive, or anything. But a couple of them were kind of crystallizing, and Jakarta EE was one of them. And we had a voting. We narrowed it down to 2 alternatives and had a vote, and Jakarta EE won. And we also got the jakarta.ee domain. So that's, if you remember one thing from today, that's this. And please click on this link and go in there and check out what Jakarta EE is. It's easy to remember. So Jakarta EE is all about specifications, and we have a lot of them. So the complete list of specifications in Jakarta EE are listed here. And you can see I've grayed out some of them at the bottom, and that's the specifications that are considered a little bit more legacy. They're still used, and they're still good technologies, and all that, but we have decided that they're so stable that we won't continue developing them unless somebody picks them up and want to do it. But right now, these are kind of parked where they are.
And what are those dotted lines in those sections?
Yeah, so we to kind of group things together and make it a little bit easier for the implementations to implement these technologies, we divided it into profiles, and we have this since Java E5, I think, yeah, or was it 6, where the web profile was introduced. That's a subset of all the specifications that are more aimed to smaller app servers and web applications, and the more enterprisey, heavier things are components of the full profile. So it's divided into profiles, and what we're thinking of is whether we should divide it further into more profiles or take away the profiles altogether and just have a list of specs you can pick and choose from. But that is kind of the future discussion. And we have this notion of open specifications. And to explain what open specifications and why we say these are more open than other specifications, I'll hand it over to Tanja, and she'll start her screen sharing.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So we're all about open source and vendor neutrality, and slightly different from what JCP used to have. So we are working with, as Ivar said, with open specifications, and we have actually started to work to change the development of the space specification slightly. Oh my goodness, it's going too fast for me. So the specifications actually are going to be developed by approach of code first. So different from the what was previously done. You know, so you're not writing the specification document first. You're actually proving the code that that code is a standard and proven technology, and then you're developing the specification itself. It is always collaborative, and we do not have necessarily, or actually we don't actually have spec leads or expert group. what we are doing is there is a project team and there is a project lead, but the project lead does not have any particular role or power, if you want to put it that way. It is the role that is there to have the coordination role and make sure that we have a point of contact if there is a need for one. And then the big difference is that is most welcomed by all the developers is that documents and TCKs are now completely open sourced. So that means that you can go in, see what TCKs are, and TCK, just to make sure everyone is familiar, is tests, it's technology compatibility kits. So it's all the tests that are used, and we'll talk about it a little bit later for the certification. And everyone can see what is in these tests and jump in and help out and provide feedback, correct them, or influence how they're being developed. For each of the specification, we also have one or more compatible implementations. So what that means is that nowadays we're not having one reference implementation, but any implementation that passes those TCKs can become a compatible implementation. And then at the end, we have also changed the certification process, and now that is not done by one vendor, and it's not, as we are hearing, it's not a black box because now everything is available. It is self-certification by the products implementing the specifications, and we're basically all we're asking is that certification results are presented to, made available. They're always made available for public to view.
Yeah. So that basically means that if I have an app server, or if I implement one, I can actually just get the TCK, run the tests, put the results up on the web page, and I'm certified.
Right. And we will show you what we have so far of the list of certified products, but even more so list of compatible products. But basically, you know, anyone who has a server that passes CCK tests can proudly say that they are certified. So all of these specifications are actually developed by the Jakarta EE specification process. And this is how the process looks like. And while it may kind of look overwhelming and complex, it really isn't. If you are looking into, and let me try to invoke the animation. If we're looking into all the review processes that we implemented during the specification development process, you will see that we have quite a few reviews. So creation review right after the proposal. So the teams who are looking into specification, and I don't want to get purposely into governance, but they can review the proposal and approve it. And then after creation review is done and development starts, we can also have the release plan reviews, right? That's the plan review. That at some point, at certain milestones, we can also have a checkpoint and have the progress review, making sure that everything is developed as intended. And then finally, just before the release, we're certainly interested to have one final release review before developing ratified final specification. So if we mark all of the reviews, you can see that basically the development process is going through the proposal, development and milestones, and then at some point we are having the specification that is ready to be the final one, and the final specification. All of this just to say that basically this is not drastically different from any development process. So I think we talked about specification long enough that we can actually now say what exactly is the specification. And I think Ivar mentioned already, so every specification consists of specification document, the APIs that are showing how we should, what exactly we should implement. So and then finally, as I mentioned, technology compatibility kit. So those are the three major parts of the each specification. Now, every specification, in order to be kind of final, needs to have the code that fully implements those three artifacts. Particularly for if we look at the set of specifications that make a profile or a platform, at the end we have to have a set of specifications that will satisfy this criteria and have the compatible implementations. So that's basically what the specifications are all about. So once we have the specifications and a compatible implementation, what do we exactly see as a compatible implementation? So as mentioned, tons of application servers out there are implementing either web profile or the full or the Jakarta EE platform, and we're thrilled to say that we have received comments that the amount of compatible products or compatible implementations we have right now is much greater in this short period of time than what Oracle had for Jakarta EE8 since it was released. So this list is actually growing, and you can see all the requests that are put forward in the GitHub informing us about their certification. So we are totally thrilled about that. Okay, so any questions? Or Ivar, do you have any questions for me? If we don't have anything from audience before you jump into demo.
Yeah, I think we've talked so long now about all this stuff. So we want to see how it actually is, and we talked about the compatible implementations, and we talked about all the ones that are listed on the previous slide are implementing either the full profile or the platform profile. So, but you can also implement some of these specs, and I'll show a couple of them now. And what I'll do first is I'll just create a super simple hello servlet and deploy it to OpenLiberty. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the same application and deploy it to Apache Tomcat, and I'm going to take the same application and deploy it to Eclipse Jetty. And this shows that even these are milestones and beta releases. They support some of the specs, and they actually implement already the Servlet 5 specification, which is part of Jakarta EE9. So I'll go and show this in code. So what I have here is a super simple Java EE project. and you can see I'm using the version 9 of the Jakarta EE platform. And if you want to get started with this, and if you're using IntelliJ, I'll show how easy it is. What you do is you create a new project, and what you can do there is, when it's working a little bit here, is you see you have Java Enterprise there, and you can actually see the Jakarta sailing shift here. Choose Java, go to the next, and here you can see you can actually choose this is Java E8. You can switch to Jakarta E8, and you can see you have the version 9 here already available for you. So if you want to get started, it's super easy, and it will create a project for you, and you can just go ahead. But I've already created this, and as with all the Jakarta EE technologies, the only thing you need is one provided dependency for you, and everything else is done underneath. And my code here is so simple that it's almost embarrassing to show, but it's a servlet, and this one is actually using Jakarta E9 already, as you saw. So it's just the hello endpoint, and what it writes is hello from Jakarta E9. And I've compiled this one to the target folder of the project. And what I have here is I'm running OpenLiberty here, and I'm running Tomcat, and I'm running Jetty. So what I'm going to do is to take the same application and just copy it in to the drop-ins folder here. You see in OpenLiberty, it's the drop-ins folder for your default server, and I'm just copying the servlet application in here, and that will just deploy the application for me. It's the same way of doing it with Tomcat. Just there we go. So I'm copying the same application here, the servlet into the WebApps folder of my Tomcat. And with Jetty, it's the same thing. I'm just copying it into the WebApps folder of Jetty 11, the alpha release. So it goes in there, and then I can just navigate to the I think it was servlet hello. And you can see here it says hello Jakarta E9, which is what I had here. So it deploys to OpenLiberty, which is kind of expected because that is an application server, but Tomcat as well. And if I just reload the Tomcat manager, you should see that it's popped up here. So I can go and access this hello endpoint here as well. And you can see Jakarta E9 runs on Tomcat as well, and that is kind of awesome. And also, if you want to see the Jetty version, you can see here servlet pops up, and I can go to the hello endpoint, and it works here as well. So this is what Jakarta EE is all about. It's the portability across the runtimes. So you use in your code the specification, the APIs, everything is provided to you. You don't have to bundle a lot of dependencies in your application, and it's provided to the implementation in the runtimes. So you can see here it runs perfectly well on OpenLiberty, on Jetty, and on Tomcat.
Ivar, I have a question here. So if we want to use the profiles, do we need to pick a different Maven configuration, or is it like something?
Yes. That is a good question. And here you can see I'm using the Jakarta API. So this is actually the full profile. If you want to use the web API, I think it's called Jakarta Web API. So then it's this Maven coordinates I'm using. So if you only use the web profile, it's web API. Otherwise, it's the full.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, in comments we have MK, who is interested to know about what is provided by Jakarta EE9, which is missing in Jakarta EE8.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's a good thing that that is actually our next topic. So you're right on time, and So it's almost as we were kind of telling you to ask these questions just when it happens. But this was actually not intentional. But as you see, we are going to talk about Jakarta E9, and to do that, I'll hand it over to you, Tanja.
Okay, so let me just share my screen again. And let me talk about Jakarta E9. So we are, as you may imagine, we're thrilled and excited that Jakarta E9 is almost ready to be released. Milestone release is already available. And the focus of the release is actually lower entry barriers, establish Jakarta E9 as platform for innovation, and the intention of this release is to actually make it very easy for migration. So what exactly does it mean, lower entry barriers? So the intention really is to kind of look into all of the specifications in the web profile and the platform, and get rid of anything that is old, or review and make some of the specifications optional, look into what is deprecated, and kind of lighten everything up, so we can enable new vendors to implement the specifications, and kind of lower the barrier for them to enter the ecosystem. So that is the first focus. The second focus is, once everything is established like that, we really want to position this platform for innovation. So we know that for a while this platform was kind of stalled with Oracle, and that was one of the key objections from the community, and resistance in a way from the community within for this platform, for the use of this platform. So we wanted to make sure that we kind of set the ground and enable this platform for position this platform for innovation. And also, because we had issues with we wanted to make sure that this platform is actually for developers and vendors, the platform that will enable them to really easy migrate into Jakarta EE space. I don't want to reveal too much about it, because Ivar will take over and talk to us about exactly what we mean by easy migration, particularly important for this release. And Mala Gupta already knows with JetBrains what we're talking about. But we are making sure that the code base does not require a lot of work in order to migrate to Jakarta E9 before we start developing and evolving this technology into Jakarta E10 and beyond. So one of the key elements to kind of that we want to address in this release is the namespaces. And unless we have already question on what do we mean by namespace, I will turn it over to Ivar, and who will talk a little bit more about the namespace and changes that are required for Jakarta E9.
So Tanja, I have a question which is not regarding the namespace, but it's about the lower barrier entry. So when you talk about lower barrier entry, is it for the developers who are trying to develop their applications with Jakarta EE, or are we talking about probably other players who want to implement the specifications?
Well, we want to lower the barriers for development for developers to kind of jump in and get involved as well. But this particular one is actually addressing the lower the barriers for implementers of the technology to be part of the ecosystem.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and an example of that is by removing these kind of more legacy technologies like these open XML web services, which it's good technology, but if you want to create a new app server today, you probably wouldn't start with that. So that is by removing and deprecating things that are not that cool today. It's lowered the entry barrier for new implementations.
And I will put in the chat the list where you can review the Jakarta EE release plan and have a look in there what exactly is being removed from the technologies that are not being used as much, and example what is being removed.
So let's go over to the namespaces, and it's no secret that we're moving from the javax namespace to the Jakarta namespace, and because of this, we have a question here: what is provided in 9 that is missing in 8? And due to this namespace change from javax to Jakarta, we are limiting the amount of new functionality, and that is exactly what Tanja explained. We want to make the migration easy. So because if we added a lot of technology, you wouldn't be sure if any bugs you got was due to this namespace change or that the technology has bugs in it or something. So we take a proven platform, which is Jakarta EE8, and move it to 9, where we basically do the Jakarta javax to Jakarta namespace change, and that's it. And that is to make it easier for to get the service out on the market as soon as possible, so you can start moving your applications over and be ready for Jakarta EE10. And that is what we were going to talk about in a minute. So I'll just go and do a quick demo of the namespace change and what's in it for you. So if you look at a application today, which is in the Jakarta EE8, so it's an old application. It has the Jakarta Maven coordinates, but it's version 8. So it's Jakarta EE8. And if I look at this one, is a simple javax REST application, and I have a hello world endpoint here, and so it's basically the same application that I did with the servlet. Just this one is with javax REST. It has the add path, and it says hello to Jakarta EE8. And if I take this application and deploy it to a Jakarta EE8 compatible server, such as Glassfish 501, I can let me see, choose the artifact here, take the REST Duke and deploy it. So I'll deploy this simple application, just saying hello to Jakarta EE8 to a Jakarta EE8 compatible application, and as you'd expect, it will very much display hello to Jakarta EE8. So that is nothing new, nothing cool. And let's take this application, move it to the Jakarta namespace on Jakarta EE9, and deploy it to Glassfish 6. I have the milestone here around me, and this one supports the Jakarta namespace. The first thing you need to do is to update your POM file. So I have version 8 here. So what I'm going to do is to update it to version 9. And the latest version is RC2. So this is the release candidate that we launched in earlier this year. And when I do this, I just have to reload the project to get the dependencies right. And when I do this, you will actually see that my application won't compile anymore. And that's because I have the javax namespace. So let's get rid of that. And you can see here that, most of them are resolved by the IDE, and some of them you have to actually do yourself. The class that produces the JSON object doesn't need to do any changes because it doesn't have any imports. My endpoint has a lot of them, so let's just get rid of these. And you see, you just have to be careful that you choose the right dependency, otherwise it's more or less just a string replace. So that's how it's done.
Is there a utility provided by community which can do it, just pass the project and transform the project from 8 to 9?
There actually is. There is a transformer project, and what that one does is to take it on bytecode level. So you can take your deployment artifact from Jakarta 8 and transform it to a 9 version with the Jakarta namespace and run it on a 9 server. Some of the implementations will also include this, so you can actually take a javax based application and deploy it to a Jakarta server, and you will be able to run there. But I would recommend do the namespace change and do it like in a controlled way.
Okay.
So let's take this and deploy it to a the Glassfish 6, which is Jakarta EE9. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to change, and that is we're not talking Jakarta E8 anymore. It's 9, right? So we have to change the language. It's important. So it's still deploying, I think. Let's see if it gets it. So it should be up and running. So let's open the Glassfish 6. It also has the REST. Hello. It wasn't there. It's not a demo unless it's something wrong. Hang on this one. Did it stop? Okay. I'll try once more, and if it's not starting, then I'll just hello. And you say it's up, and it says hello to Jakarta EE9. So this one actually runs on the Jakarta namespace. So the implementations are there, and it works pretty nice.
Wow. So we're now hoping that everyone will actually move to Jakarta namespace and start running their applications on the Jakarta namespace.
Yeah. So what I did here was to take a Jakarta E8 application running on Glassfish 5 and deploy it, do the namespace change and run it on Jakarta EE9 on Glassfish 6. So it is all available now, and it's just to try it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and just to clarify, do you want to clarify that it's actually milestone release, that it's available for quite some time now?
Yeah, it's been available since June. So
yeah, and we're expecting our release relatively shortly, the full release.
Yeah, and here we have listed a lot of products, and we asked them in June what their plan was. So you can see all of these servers, whether it's Open Liberty or Wildfly or even Jersey, which implements the Jakarta REST, are all having plans, and some of them are available now. Some of them will be available soon, and at latest early next year. So the release date for Jakarta EE9 will be end of November, and most of them plan to be compatible pretty soon after that. And we've introduced a hashtag called Embrace Jakarta, and if you want to have your product on this list, just tweet us with this hashtag, and we'll get it listed. So I see.
Okay, so
yes,
Ivar, I have a question.
Yes.
I remember there was a lot of discussion going on before the decision was made to change the namespace. Right. Can you go through the process behind that decision and why the Big Bang approach was chosen?
Okay, so the Big Bang approach was chosen. The Big Bang approach was to change everything now at once, rather than taking some specs now and some specs later. And the reason for that was to just it's like when you have a Band-Aid on, you want to rip it off fast, rather than peeling it off slowly and be in agony for years with this change of namespaces. So now it's we call it the Big Bang approach. It's just get over with it, get it done, and it will be so much better later. So there were a lot of pros and cons, and we discussed for a long time which approach we should choose, and we landed on the Big Bang just to make this step easier. So you have to wonder whether has this moved or not moved, and be kind of dragging this along for years.
And that's also why we call this this release, one of the focus for this release is easy migration, right? So we want to kind of enable everyone to move to the new namespace and just be done with it and not worry about that going forward.
Yeah. I'll take the. I see we have a question why a Spring developer should move to Jakarta EE. I'll wait with answering that until the end of this talk. It's a good question,
yes.
and it has a perfectly good answer as well.
Exactly, we have an answer ready.
To talk about what's coming after 9, and see what we have in the future, because 9 is coming whether you like it or not, and 9, to be honest, it's not that exciting. It's a namespace change. Come on, it's string replace and you're good to go. It's not that hard. But then afterward, that's the cool thing.
Sorry to interrupt you. So this was one of the breaking change, the namespace. Are there some more breaking changes in this version?
No, it's not.
No.
This is the only breaking change.
Okay. Thanks.
So if we look at in the future for what's coming after Jakarta EE 9, and we are already starting to discuss this. And one thing we're discussing is the release cadence, because as you know, Java EE 7 came out in 2013. That's 7 years ago, and to be honest, it hasn't happened very much since then. We had Java EE 8 in 2016, but then again, 9 doesn't give anything more than 8, and 8 didn't give anything from Java EE 8. So we want to kind of have a steady release cadence, and the plan is the discussion is going that this should be a kind of a release train, a time-based cadence like Java SE has. I don't think we will land on 6 months, but maybe a year or something like that. What we also want to look at is the TCK, which Tanja described earlier. It's a monolith. It's a monster. It's very hard to run, especially if you're only interested in the servlet spec, for example. You have to figure out how to run this entire thing to be able to certify your servlet. So by picking it a little bit apart and making each specification responsible for their part of the TCK, and that will make us able to move faster with the individual specifications as well. We want to look at CDI alignment to get it throughout the platform. There are already discussions going on the CDI mailing list about a CDI Lite version. So to better be able to support compiling to native, like the Micronaut, the Quarkus, and Helidon does already, and be able to run using the Graal VM. So that discussion is already started. So I'm encouraged to go in and look at what they're talking about there. We want to look at how we can use JPMS in the platform. It doesn't necessarily apply to the developer. It's more like a implementer thing. So it's not necessarily anything we really have to do on the API level. It's just more figure out some reasonable naming standard and enforce it. But there could be something. We're also looking at possible new APIs. And some of the APIs we're looking at is Jakarta NoSQL. Its specification is out there. It has an implementation. They are developing the tests as we speak. And this is probably something that people want, because NoSQL has been around for a while, and the platform should support it. We're also looking at Jakarta MVC. We moved it to Eclipse Foundation and Jakarta, and the first release under Jakarta will come out pretty soon now, and we will do the namespace change there as well. So MVC is definitely a candidate for inclusion in the platform. We need some sort of configuration system, whether we're adopting MicroProfile config or other configuration APIs or technologies, or if we're developing a specification ourselves. That is up to us to figure out, but we need some kind of platform-wide way of configuring our applications. We're also looking at possible updates to APIs and existing technologies. And for example, in Jakarta Security, we're thinking of the version 1.0 of the Java EE security, which is now Jakarta Security, kind of lay the foundation to configure your applications in a secure way from the application developer's perspective. So, but it has some things left out of there, and we want to look at possible inclusion of OpenAPI, OAuth, JSON Web Tokens, and that kind of things, and also some convenience annotations to spread out and be able to use. For concurrency is also get it aligned with CDI. Maybe add some CDI annotations so you can annotate your classes in a more CDI-friendly way. We're looking at Jakarta Messaging, and we started the work there for Jakarta E8, but it was kind of cut off. So what it started with a CDI alignment of the message-driven beans, and also look at other protocols other than JMS. Look at the MQP, MQTT, or Kafka, for examples. For Jakarta Persistence, we're looking at possible way of simplifying things. Maybe update the query language a little bit, so to have better support for a more advanced way of querying your data. Simplify everything. Look at some common caching mechanism. JCache could be an option there. And also some sort of multi-tenancy support to be a little bit more modern. For Jakarta REST is the last kind of cleanup to get rid of the Jakarta REST defined dependency injection thingies and be fully CDI. Maybe add some multi-part form data support, and look at the Java SE version of the Jakarta REST. And of course, there are more specifications that could be benefit from possible updates, the batch, the mail, transactions, phases, etc. So if you have some favorite technology or some technology you use in your daily work, this is the time to join that mailing list and get involved. And tell them what you want. And that kind of brings us over to the community effort. And all of this is, as Tanja said in the beginning, this is a community project. And we're dependent on the community stepping in and helping us in any way they can. And
okay, great.
I'll let
so
Tanja.
I can Yeah, I can maybe take over this part. And let me resume. I'm trying to see how I can present the whole screen. So just give me, okay, so share now. So with the community effort, as Ivar pointed out, we actually want to get involved with you, or get you involved with the Jakarta project. So one thing, just because there are multiple jugs here, and I hope everyone can see my screen now. We have this particular interesting program that you may be able to jump on and get involved. It is Adopt a Spec. So Adopt a Spec is particularly tailored for jugs. And what we actually want to see, and let me know if you can see my screen still, or rather if you cannot. On our Jakarta EE website, there is a Adopt a Spec program, and you can see that you know, we have quite a few jugs already involved. But what we would love to get your attention to is to kind of get familiar with the program, and select a particular specification or specifications you're interested in, or get in touch with us, asking us where would your impact be the greatest for which specifications, and get involved and help us out to get the community more involved in developing Jakarta EE. We also want to get you engaged with our mailing list. So all of the mailing lists, again, off of our Jakarta EE site, you can connect with us in multiple different ways. So those are all the mailing lists, and different ways on how you can get connected, even the Slack channel. But the project mailing lists are all listed here. And please sign up and let us know where you would like this technology to go. We also have a very exciting program for everyone to stay in the loop with what's going on with Jakarta and related projects, and we call it Jakarta One live stream. And again, I will switch to our main website, and here is the Jakarta One live stream. So this is the date that I would like you to keep in mind, which is the Jakarta One December 8th. And kind of learn more about it and get involved. The call for paper is still open for the people who are interested to participate. Here is the program committee. Here is how you can register for event even today. But we are going to be talking on December 8th about the Jakarta EE related projects. And also, hopefully at that time, celebrate the release of Jakarta EE, Jakarta EE9, sorry. What I also wanted to point out for the people who are interested to organize event that is language specific, right? For the vast developers that are, you know, maybe their mother tongue is not English. You can organize your own event. We had one in Japanese, one in Portuguese, and we're expecting one in Spanish as well. So, you know, if you would like to, now that you're knowledgeable about Jakarta EE, and you would like to organize an event in your own language, please get in touch and we can work on that as well. So in summary, maybe Ivar, do you want to summarize everything that we talked about so far?
Sure. So we have a couple of questions here, and we'll take them in a minute or so. So to sum up, Jakarta EE 9 is coming. The keyword there is to lower the entry barriers, platform for innovation, and easy migration. It's not that much new coming. Just be aware of the namespace change, and it's now the time to get involved for Jakarta EE 10. We've added some links here for you. It's jakarta.ee. The sources for Jakarta EE and the implementations at Eclipse Foundation is located at the Eclipse EE4J organization on GitHub. We have the Jakarta blogs. So if you're writing a blog or and want to be published on the Jakarta blogs, that the instructions on that site is gives you a way of being published there, so you can get some traffic to your own blog. I have a weekly hashtag Jakarta EE on my blog. Is also published on Jakarta blogs. So please follow that and get some weekly updates. We have some questions here. Mala asked, do we get start jakarta.ee.io? And well, not start jakarta.ee.io. That's far too complicated. What we're doing is start jakarta.ee. It's much easier. And that will give you the starter for Jakarta EE. Currently, it's not like the MicroProfile starter. I guess that's what you're aiming at. But there is a project for the starter, and if you want to be involved and help out with that, we're very happy to take you in and help us make a starter page like startspring.io, so you can easily generate your project there. But it's start jakarta.ee. Very easy to remember. And then we have another question here. Any plans for built-in monitoring matrices? Well, that is, it's a good question, and I guess that is where you can kind of join the discussions and drive it in the direction you want to have it, because if enough people want this and there are some good solutions out there, well, it makes sense to standardize it. And we do have the metrics projects in MicroProfile, for example. That is something we could look at. It works pretty well with Jakarta EE, any of those things. Couldn't we have, wouldn't it be nice, or I would like to have those kind of technologies you're thinking of there, is what you should just raise on the community mailing list, and somebody will probably have the same ideas, and maybe you can get a spec out of it. So I guess that last question there is a little bit too advanced. I think how we can build a local distributed build farm from the core. Well, I'm not sure what you mean there, but feel free to ping me afterwards, and I'll see whether we can figure out an answer there. So the big question somebody up here had was, why should a Spring developer move to Jakarta EE, or why should what do you get in Jakarta EE that you don't get in Spring? And to be honest, Spring is an awesome technology, and it's not that much to gain just by moving from Spring to Jakarta EE, unless you have some need for being more vendor neutral. So if you have the need for being able to move your application easily from one vendor to another, maybe your company kind of switches who they have support agreements with or something like that, then it makes sense to move to Jakarta EE, because then you're not tied into one single vendor. And also, if you have a lot of developers on your team that are used to the Jakarta EE programming model, it will be easier for them to get up and started and focus on the business functionality there than learning the same things in Spring, and vice versa, of course.
And I guess that's the key differences, and we didn't talk much about it this time around. But vendor neutrality is a major differentiator for any other from any other technologies out there. At least when Eclipse Foundation is in question, because that's how the whole working group concept that involves different members is working, like ensuring that there is a definite vendor neutrality while developing those technologies.
Yeah, and also it's the differentiator from Spring is also that Spring is it is open source, but it's a one vendor kind of thing. So Jakarta is a lot of vendors. So if one of the vendors participating in Jakarta figures out that they want to leave that project and focus on something else, there are a lot of other resources available to take over. If VMware decides to leave Spring, then there's no way back. But not that I'm saying they're planning to do that.
That will happen, yeah. I pasted in chat. Yeah, I pasted in chat all the members of the working group that we have for Jakarta EE. So you will see quite some big names interested in technology, and we're of course excited about that.
We also have a question here, which is kind of interesting actually, because Nishant, I hope you pronounced your name right, asks which Spring Jakarta EE API Spring uses, and that is a good thing to be aware of. That Spring is heavily reliant on Jakarta EE. So when we do this namespace change, Spring will be affected, and they are planning on doing the Jakarta switch as well, and they will do it sometime next year. And I encourage you to join the Jakarta One live stream, because I'm going to have a 15-minute chat with Jürgen Holler from the Spring Framework team, and we're going to discuss this. So if you're not joining for the other talks, then join for this, because that is interesting, and we're in dialogue with the Spring team as well. And what technologies do they use? Oh, I'm not sure if I know all of them, but definitely Servlet and JPA, Jakarta Persistence, and they also the injection. They support CD, not CDI, but they support Jakarta Inject. And yeah, you can probably just name them all.
Yeah, you are just I'm following the Jakarta EE, and basically I'm on the ambassador list, and just wanted to let the audience know that Spring uses some of the implementation as well internally.
Yeah.
Great. I have one more question.
Yeah, we have one question about the release cycle, and we're discussing it. I don't think we're landing on some 6-month cadence, but I'm hoping for a year or something like that.
But please feel free to jump on the mailing list and ask that question, right? And voice your desires and opinions. And then community. This is, after all, it's not up to Ivar and me. It is up to the community and the working group to figure out all of these questions. Okay, so Ivar, I think we're at the end of our presentation, right?
Yeah, we're done. So
yeah, we're done. So
listening, and hope to be back. And next time we're flying into Delhi and do the talk there, hopefully.
Yeah, we're already thrilled about that opportunity.
Yeah.
That will be an exciting opportunity for us to host you in person. And now I'll just like to thank Ivar and Tanja for the great session they gave. I'm pretty sure our audience learned about Jakarta EE a lot more. And it's fair we had a discussion about Spring now. I think it's fair to talk about Spring as well. And we would like to announce our next meetup. We will have our meetup with Josh Long from Pivotal, and he will be talking about reactive Spring. So all the JG members, stay tuned. And thank you, Ivar, and thank you, Tanya, again. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I would also like to thank Nishant Roth from Mumbai JG for joining.
Thank you.
And,
And team.
thanks. And Steve, I think we can hang out a little bit longer if anyone have any questions about Jug, so we can hang out for another 5-10 minutes. And thanks, Ivar and Tanya. Thanks a lot. It was a great session.
Thank you, and hopefully we'll see someone being interested in adopting at least one of the specs from Jakarta EE, from the JAG community. And thanks for the fabulous poster there, the background and the Delhi skyline. It looks really nice.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Ivar and Tanya. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye for now.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you.